But you need to be competitive, not with other people, but you need to be competitive with yourself. You need to set yourself a goal, right? You need to go above and beyond that goal. You set up a time, you tell me what time, I'll come out there, and instead of me just working with you, I'm going to help every one of your neighbors out at the same exact time to get them moving. When that adjuster shows up on that driveway, I look right at the adjuster, I hand him my scope sheet, and I say, hey, this is what myself and the homeowner just went over on their property. This is what we've noticed is damage on their property. This is what we expect to be taken care of.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown. This is the Hook Better Leads podcast. And today I have Dan Walrack with me. How you doing, man?
How you doing, man? Nice to see you.
Yes, sir. What company?
Build Strong Exteriors.
And we were talking about how he used relationships to hit 18 million in personal roofing sales. First of all, holy shit.
It's a big number.
And we were just kind of talking earlier, just shooting the shit about how it's kind of weird sometimes if somebody is, hey, really into that hustle. You're knocking a lot of doors, but you can't ever graduate past that because at a certain point, you should be starting to get so many referrals and creating relationships. So if you stay in that mode of just hustle.
Yeah. Well, you get to that point where, you know, we've all been there where we have to spend those first few years of getting that hustle, getting that grind, doing the work, knocking the doors, being out there sun up to sundown. But I'll tell you what, it comes to the point where you have to go beyond the hustle. And beyond the hustle means developing those relationships and networking yourself out there where there are so many means of networking, so many means of relationships that you have to build that eventually when you've been doing this for 24 and a half years, that work will come back to you. And it's basically about planting the seed. And what I've learned and I don't want to ever use the term, an expert, but I've gotten really good at planting that seed where eventually those relationships will come back to me. And what they'll do is they'll basically, what happened this past year, doing $18 million, 90% of it's residential, 595 separate jobs, separate homeowners. That's
Which is wild. Like when you say 18 million, everyone's thinking, all right, commercial then, huh?
Well, no, I've done, as far as multifamily and commercial, I said it probably about 1.8 of the 18 million. I would say the rest of it, 90% is strictly residential properties. $29,985 average per job.
So let's get into specific methods because you're a relationship builder. You care about people. I don't think you do 18 million as a roofing salesperson and not care about people.
Exactly.
So let's talk about different methods that you use to create relationships at scale. I know you talked about insurance agents.
Agents is a big plus.
I want to talk about the pitching many homeowners at once, like having the homeowner bring other homeowners, which is crazy. I saw a picture.
No, it's critical.
What are some other ones just real quick before we dive into any one of them?
Personal relationships with insurance adjusters is a big help. Agents.
Agents.
I would say real estate agents. That helps too. Foreclosure banks, things like that. Just getting your name out there.
Yeah.
Homeowners, planting the seed. Like I'm in my community, I'm the 8th grade head football coach. I run the parent group in our middle school. I've donated a lot of time and value into the booster program, into the police department in town.
Because if somebody said that, hey, this guy's sold 18 million, they're also maybe thinking like, this guy doesn't have any personal time to do stuff like that.
Exactly.
So what is that like? Talk to me about how you have this extra time when you to say I've closed $18 million. How did you even have time?
Well, it was difficult. It wasn't easy. But the hailstorm hit in May 19th. And like I said, 37 seconds after that hailstorm came, my phone started ringing off the hook. And that evening, I had my child's traveling baseball game. I drove to that game, and as I sat in my lawn chair watching that game, I had to field over 40 plus voicemails within the first hour after that. My phone just continued for the next 2.5 months where it was a constant grind. However, my wife, she's all in. She helped me with scheduling. That was a huge plus because if I'm out on roofs with all day long, and a lot of people get that misconception that I just used an entire team to do the work for me. I met my own adjusters. I did my own claims. I did my own appointments. I did my own orders. I processed my own claims. The only thing I didn't do was I didn't build the jobs. We have a quality control department that just does that. But everything above and beyond that, I had to do up until that point.
Because some folks are really into that, go to the job site while the job is being completed.
Well, it's a huge plus.
Do you do that?
I do that in a normal year.
Okay, but
But
maybe
then
not
you're like
for-
this. When I
Yeah.
personally was building 15 roofs a day,
Yeah,
I mean, you can't
absolutely.
run adjuster
Wild.
appointments and do color appointments and do
Yeah.
appointments and be at 15 jobs. But Bill Strong was excellent, and we had a whole department that runs the jobs. So the jobs would go on, but I would still field referrals off of those jobs. So if I was in that area, I would go up to the neighbors next door and say, hey, I'm doing so-and-so's and, but I would never, I
So you were still knocking doors?
Not technically knocking doors. I was at my job site if I drive by. And, if you've been in a roofing storm, neighbors are outside looking what's going on.
Yeah.
I would drive by and say, hey, if any materials or anything like this drop in your yard, make sure you give me a holler.
We tell everyone to do that.
That's a huge plus.
And sometimes it's those like basics that it's like, yes, I know I should do that, but are you doing them?
If you're not asking, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You have to ask at least 3 times during the job. At least 3 times. And then you have that homeowner, and this is what you're asking about as far as networking, relationship building. You have that homeowner help you. You have that homeowner work for you. You're working with a homeowner, and they trust you, and they're confident in you that you're going to trust everything or do everything A to Z. Why wouldn't they refer you to their neighbor? Why wouldn't they refer you to family? Why wouldn't they refer you? The reason they're not referring you is because you're not asking.
Or they don't like you.
Or they don't like you. But you need to ask, because those are your best testimonials. Those are your best referrals, references that you're doing work for them already. They trust you. They want to see you do well. They're going to refer you out. You just have to ask.
Dan, you're a likable guy, man.
Well, I hope so, right?
You're a little special.
Well, I'm 25 years of doing this. I mean, I've been over 6 million on different years on different storms that aren't even in my own neighborhood. I mean, 2017 was a ginormous storm up in Blaine in that area in Minnesota, and I did 295 jobs in that storm.
Tell us how to be more likable.
I would say just be nice. I mean, be trustful, be loyal to the homeowners. Explain to them, plant your seed. There are jobs that you're going to go out there and you're going to go and inspect that property, and there isn't going to be damage.
If you're not using company CAN, you're in the old ways. If you are taking pictures, you're going through extra steps of having to download them on a computer, having to email them out to people, show somebody, print them out, whatever it is. Company CAN has everything you want.
But you need to drop that card and you need to let the homeowner know that, hey, there's no damage right now. However, 2 years from now, if a storm does hit, give me a call. I will be the one to take care of it. And I don't know. Most people just tend to like that. Now you're true to people, and that's what's most important, I would think.
What I'm hearing is a lot of patience. Like this past year, 18 million was not like you could just do that all of a sudden. 18 million, right? That's you said how many
very
years?
Rare. This is my 25th going into it.
25th. So all the backstory that creates an $18 million year, or even if dude, everyone would be happy with, most roofing salespeople would be happy with a 2 or a 5, right? So 2 or 5. I mean, it's just crazy to even think.
I haven't been under 4 for 20 years.
Okay, well, that's beautiful. So that's consistency too. Yeah. But talk to me about the backstory. What are all these relationships that then create 40 calls right after a storm?
Well, I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. What happened in Hudson, Wisconsin? That's where the storm was. Hudson River Falls, Woodbury, Oakdale, that little area. What happened in that area is I've been planting that seed. I've lived in the community for 13 years now. And, I've donated a lot of time. I volunteered with the boosters. I've done security with them. I'm the 8th grade head football coach. I coach traveling baseball.
Do they all know you're a roofer, though? How do you do that?
Honestly, they do, because our roofing company will do a lot of sponsorships through the booster football program. So we'll sponsor I bought brand new concussion-proof helmets for the entire booster football team.
I like this.
We donated the roof to Coco's Heart. I donated the life jacket or life vests for the K9 unit in the Hudson Police Department because we donated our time.
Seeing some advanced moves here. There's a sweetheart kind of vibe.
Well, but what you're doing is you're planting that seed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're not doing it. It's not a monetary thing. You're not planting the seed for that. But you're planting that seed for eventually someday something will happen. Mm-hmm. You just want to make sure that you're able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I do see a lot of roofing companies kind of get stuck in that one-to-one mode. I spend $150 and I get a lead. And that's technically what we do. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is if you can go beyond to the point where it's beyond to the community and create this warmth because you have abundance. Mm-hmm. You don't need to have every dollar come back to you that you spend. This seeding creates this rich amount of leads is what I'm hearing.
Correct.
And
that's correct. That's exactly what it is. It's you've planted the seed, and now, there's still abundance of knowledge, and I've always trained myself on the 5 C's, and I can get into that later. That from day one, Jim Johnson, I'm going to give him a little props here, who started 25 years ago. That's who trained me in, and I worked with, and he gave me the 5 C's of starting, and that's what I pretty much go off to this day. And
can you give those real quick? I mean, by the way, Chuck and Jim with Top Rep are our sponsor.
Perfect. Well, the number one thing that I always tell people is you need to create opportunities. And that goes in line with what we've kind of talked about. You need to create your own opportunities. That's so important. You need to challenge, and when I say challenge, that's not challenging other roofing companies. That's not challenging other sales reps. That's challenging yourself. You need to put a challenge out there every single day of what do I need to do? Where do I need to get to, right? And if you're not challenging yourself, then, to me, you're doing a disservice for the industry, because you need to challenge yourself. You also need to be competitive. In this industry, there's a lot of competition out there, and a lot of people, think they're better than them, or he's better than this. But you need to be competitive, not with other people, but you need to be competitive with yourself. You need to set yourself a goal, right? You need to go above and beyond that goal. And once you get above and beyond that goal, then comes the major one, consistency. And with consistency, that's where you take a rep from a hustle rep, which is great. I'm all for the door knocking, to a rep that goes beyond that hustle, which to me is the most important thing in the world, is going beyond the hustle. And that's why I thought of the tag, is because you're going above and beyond that, where everybody needs to hustle. Everybody needs to do the work. There's so many good sales reps out there. But so what we need to do is we need to train these guys not to go here, but to go beyond that. And to me, that's so important. So,
is there one more C?
There is one more C, and I'm going to be honest with you. That one I'm going to hold back on, and I'll bring that one out in Top Rep. It's an important one.
All right, so you guys heard it here. Top Rep event at the end of February. Yep. Are you there?
I am. I'm speaking with Jim Johnson.
God. I'm super excited, too. I'm speaking at that event.
All right.
It'll be a very good one. Do you know the dates?
February 28th and 29th, I believe.
And not only that, learning directly from an $18 million sales rep in 1 year, that's going to be a good time. Those events, what I realized is I'm going around the industry and I'm just asking people the best events that they've been to. And I just kept on hearing it. So I had to have them as a sponsor. So I went out and talked to them.
Top Rep is growing. It is really growing. So, I'm excited. So.
All right. So we talked about insurance agents and insurance adjusters. Can you talk to me about how you seed the pot with these folks and how you create opportunities through them?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with the insurance agents. What I've developed here a few years back, though, is I started to realize that getting that relationship with the agents is one of the most important relationships you can have. And what I personally do is, in the last few years, I've set up what is called a Western Wisconsin. Basically, what I do is I invite all the agents in the Western Wisconsin. We get together, and I kind of sit them down in kind of a meeting and explain to them what I can do for them. Okay. Our number one goal is you don't want a billion people calling and making claims if they're not good claims, right? So what I do for a lot of people is I go out and do the actual inspection prior to the claim to let them know whether or not it's claim worthy. If that damage is claim worthy, then we'd contact the insurance adjuster and actually open up a claim. So we're not making up 100 different claims on something that's not claim worthy.
Roofers, you want at least 5 solid lead gen tactics building chemistry. Let's say you have door knocking, referral systems, job site branding, and you add in aggressive SEO, paid ads, and boom! Smells like more leads. Hookagency.com.
And in doing that, who's the homeowner going to usually go with, right? The referral from the insurance agent.
Yes, sir.
Correct? That helps a lot there. Just the relationships with the agents. I go in there every couple months. We bring them bagels. We talk to them. Ask them if they have any questions, anything regards to damage. Homeowners always have questions. They think, is this damage worthy? Is this damage worthy? Instead of just opening a claim, you shouldn't do that. You should see what is worthy of a claim and what isn't. Adjusters, again, been doing this for 25 years, so that book of business is just experience. I've known the local staff adjusters in the area. That's a good plus to know. Get out and know them, talk to them, and if they deny a claim, ask them why. What did you see on this property that's not damaged, and what did I see that is damaged? Figure it out. Learn from those adjusters.
Would you say that like there's more money to be made in challenging that one deal and kind of pushing on a little bit, or more business and making the relationship and really like trying to get education from that person?
Well, I mean, kind of both, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
As far as regards to, I mean, if you go up on a claim and that claim is a 50-50 claim and there's not, a collateral damage and there's not, all storms, all damage on a property, it basically paints a picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
It writes a story. If you go out there and you do an inspection scope form, which I always do on every one of my properties, I start with the left side because I am also a licensed insurance adjuster.
Okay.
So I've been a licensed adjuster for 20 plus years. So what I do is I go out to each property. I start on that left-hand side of that property, and I inspect that property as if I was the adjuster on that claim. All right? And I go around the property, and I look at everything on that property as far as damage, and I write it down on a scope form. So when I meet that insurance adjuster, I am working for that homeowner. I'm not like one of these roofers that just say, yep, you've got damage. Let's get a claim. Let's get this rolling. No, that's not how I work. I do the inspection. I go up to the homeowner and say, listen, this is what I found on your property that is damaged. Now, the next step is we need to have the adjuster come out, and I can meet him out here and kind of go through the damage with him. So when I meet with that adjuster, and people ask, how come you got a 95% close ratio? How is that so freaking high? Here's your little trick or trade right here. All right, and here's how I get it every single time. When that adjuster shows up on that driveway, I look right at the adjuster, I hand him my scope sheet, and I say, hey, this is what myself and the homeowner have just went over on their property. This is what we've noticed is damage on their property. This is what we expect to be taken care of. And I hand that to that insurance adjuster, and that adjuster looks right at it. So what's the first thing he's going to do?
This looks like more work than I would have done.
Exactly. And he looks right down at it, and what does he say? The homeowner already knows this is what's damaged on their property. This is what I need to look at. So he takes front elevation, whatever's listed on that. All he's walking around is taking his pictures of the things I have listed so he can put those on his exact made form.
Bang, bang. My next question for you is, how do you get homeowners in a group to pitch them all? That was one of the most creative things I saw. You had a picture of like a homeowner and then like 5-7 other homeowners all
10,
gathered.
We're not counting.
10 all gathered around like the stoop of a house, like pitching them.
Yep.
In person, a bunch of different homeowners. So how are you doing that? And is that like actually common?
Well, 10 is not common. A handful, yes. On that specific one you're talking about, right after the storm, people calling. I got a phone call from an individual on a cul-de-sac, and he said, hey, I'd like to have you come out and do my work. I know that you're the 8th grade head football coach. Mm-hmm. Would you come out and take care of me? And I said, sure, that's great. And he goes, I think my neighbor is interested also. But I said, you know what? Why don't we do this? Why don't you call your neighbors? You set up a time. You tell me what time. I'll come out there. And instead of me just working with you, I'm going to help every one of your neighbors out at the same exact time to get them moving. So he says, all right, how about Wednesday at 5? I said, Wednesday at 5 works perfectly. So at Wednesday at 5, I showed up at the property. I drive up in the driveway, and in that property, there's 10 separate homeowners. I bring out 10 folders, 10 contracts. I did my pitch one time for all 10 people, handed each one of them a pen, signed up.
Did you get 10 signatures?
Right there.
God, that's a beautiful moment. And I just have to say, like, so, several, though? You've done that many times?
That happened 4 different times in this past storm, but other storms, 2, 3, 4, very, very common.
I love that. And anything I think where you can pitch multiple people at the same time. That's a beautiful mindset. And then I think also you just have this mindset of like, not only this deal that I'm trying to close now, like I want this ideally to close, but I want many other deals to come from this. Mm-hmm. And that's your mindset, I feel like.
Yep.
Is there any other things besides the insurance agents, adjusters, pitching many homeowners at once? Maybe the realtor strategy, if you want to go into that a little bit. I know that some people find realtors like can sometimes be like tire kicker or like little problem. There's problems that come with really focusing on realtors sometimes. How do you do that in a way that actually creates business?
I work with realtors more not so as tire kickers or, hey, can you get a bid? Hey, can you get a bid? I work with realtors more as connections. Yeah. You know what I mean? And as connections are, I've got a couple of realtors right in Hudson here that they know that I'm not just going to run out and, hey, can I get an estimate on a downspout? You know what I mean? But what they do is their connections are broad and are wide. I mean, and handing them cards, they know that I'm going to refer them out. They're going to refer me out. And I've had numerous times where just in this past storm, I would say no less than 15 times I had days called, homeowners looking to move. They think they might have damage on their property, or the building inspector came out, noticed that there is damage on the property, and they need to get this thing moving as soon as possible, right? So that agent would refer me to that homeowner. That homeowner would call me and say, hey, you can get this taken care of in a timely fashion. I'm like, sure I can. You know what I mean? And
Do you say, like, I don't want little tiny deals?
You never say that.
Okay.
I never say that because you never know, and I'm sure in doing this business and you're talking to people, you never know what that one small repair job could turn into.
Any other things where you're kind of like talking to someone who's spreading the good word? We covered a lot.
I was going to say we covered a lot. You know, on a cusp, I would probably say the biggest key, I mean, to be honest with it, coming to things like this, networking and relationships.
We're at SRC Summit at the moment, so.
And I'm trying to think if there's other things. I mean, adjusters, agents, real estate agents.
The sponsorships thing, like the
That's huge. That's huge.
Police force, like the donating, like that kind of stuff. All that stuff, the community stuff.
Yeah.
And then you having a full personal life that involves being involved in like football and stuff.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And that all is crazy networking, right?
It is unbelievable networking. And it's enjoyment too. I mean, I enjoy being the 8th grade football coach. I enjoy coaching my children in the numerous sports they do. And it's not like I do it just for the networking relationships, but you build that with knowing people. I mean, and getting your name out, letting people know who you are, what you do. You know, how
do you do that in a classy way? Like real quick, around the sports stuff, like I'm coaching these kids and like, am I like wearing the business shirt to the like?
No, not so much that, but what you're doing is, I mean, the multiple years of doing this, people ask, so what do you do? You know, and
gotcha. So it's just like those one-to-one conversations.
And like with being a commissioner in the football, I mean, where there's a need for concussion-proof helmets, so we put out a sponsorship out there, and of course, Build Strong Exteriors is going to sponsor that.
Is there like a brand on the helmet or anything?
We took 8 sponsors this last year for the football for the helmets, and we put their name on the back of the jerseys, and then so every time our kids would play football, you'd read Build Strong on the back of the jerseys.
I love that.
You'd have 200, 300, 400 people coming to watch the youth football games. Well, everyone's got the jersey on with our name on it, and I mean, same thing with the baseball, with the basketball. With baseball, we used to sponsor, our Build Strong would always do baseball bags. And on the baseball bags, you'd put our logo on the baseball bags and sponsor the team for that. So every community you'd go to play baseball in, your logo and your name and everything would be on that bag just to get it out there. There's so many numerous things.
I know. I just wanted to cover a good chunk of them in this because I think what it comes down to is like folks thinking kind of that one-to-one strategy, like door knocking or
there's
even,
nothing wrong with door
or
knocking.
buying leads or whatever it happens to be, but like just really kind of expanding past that one-to-one mindset and getting into like one-to-many in as many cases as possible. And it's community and it's enjoying life.
Exactly. Going beyond
the hustle.
That's exactly correct.
Anything else you want to share on Beyond the Hustle? I know that you're working on a book right now.
Yeah. So, my wife and I, actually, my wife was the one who helped tag the name. And I went to a D2D door-to-door in Salt Lake, last week, I think it was. And I learned a lot of great things. And little plug for Taggart, he did a fabulous job there.
I heard that event is awesome.
It is if you haven't been, something you need to go to. Little bit on that, and so I went and sat and watched a panel. They did a fabulous job, but everything was about the hustle.
Yeah,
get the grind out there. 15 hours a day, go. And my wife and I had a conversation, and I'm like, it's not always about the hustle. There's a step beyond that hustle that in reality is, and Tim, you and I have talked about this. Not a lot of people are touching that. Not a lot of people are going beyond that hustle. You know what I mean? There's so many different avenues that people can take.
You got to hit it.
I mean, you got to get there first.
You don't get to skip it.
Yeah. You don't go from 0 to 18 in 1 year.
Yeah.
But you have to go through the grind to understand that there's means beyond that.
And when you're doing that, actually creating relationships.
And then
treating people well.
And having consistency, which is huge. And if you're consistent and you're confident in yourself, above all, it is what it is. It'll just keep going, and it really does.
I love it. And do you want to give a .com or anything? Do you want to promote anything here at the end?
Not yet. Pretty much, I'm just starting off with the Beyond the Hustle. I've got meeting with Jim. We're going to be going over a lot of stuff, and he was talking about getting into the studio and working on some things.
And it's BuiltStrongExteriors.com?
Built Strong Exteriors, yep. BuiltStrongExteriors.com out of Lake Elmo, Minnesota.
Awesome. And doing great things there. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show today. The podcast is put on by HookAgency.com. Hook Agency all over social. Thank you for watching, listening. Give this a thumbs up, subscribe, rate the podcast. Appreciate y'all. Bye.
Thank you.